Jack Smith surrenders. Good morning, Kuhner country. As Trump would say, winning, winning, winning. Huge victory for President-elect Donald J. Trump. Here is exactly, I'm sure most of you know the news. It broke yesterday, but I cannot overstate the significance of what this means for Trump, for his incoming presidency, for the Department of Justice, and a massive victory for MAGA and a huge defeat for the Democrats. What you're hearing now, you're hearing all these sounds, like things blowing up. No, we're not at war with Russia, at least not yet. Those are the sounds of liberal heads exploding all across the country. In the wake of yesterday's news, in which special counsel Jack Smith, and remember, Jack Smith was the hatchet man. He was the legal assassin hired by Merrick Garland, appointed to be special counsel, to take out President Trump. He was their main guy in their lawfare campaign against President Trump, who was going to bag the president, was going to jail the president, was going to knock him out of the presidential race and put him behind bars for 500 years. I'm not kidding. That's exactly what Jack Smith was asking for in his 2 federal criminal indictments against Trump. So Smith was the one who first led the raid on Mar-a-Lago over the alleged classified documents case, where the FBI went in, guns blazing. We now know more information has come out. They had shoot-to-kill orders for President Trump, for Melania, and for his son Barron. Now, yesterday, Jack Smith requested on both the classified documents case in Florida and the January 6th so-called election interference case in Washington, D.C., under Judge Tanya Chutkan, that both of these indictments, both cases, be dismissed. And they were dismissed without prejudice. Tanya Chutkan, the judge, staunch liberal, was itching to get Trump, couldn't do it. And so she dismissed the entire case against Trump. Trump won. The Democrats lost. Democrat lawfare lost. Trump is an innocent man. And I cannot overstate to all of you what a massive relief it is to President Trump, but more importantly, what a victory it is for the rule of law and equal justice under the law for the United States of America. This is one of the biggest defeats the liberals have suffered in a very long time. That, and obviously Trump's victory on November 5th. And so, Jack Smith now threw in the towel. He doesn't have a case against Trump, and what it shows, and there's no sugarcoating this, he tried to give his reasons why. He tried to put on as much of a brave, glossy face as possible. But you can dress up surrender however you want. Surrender is surrender is surrender. And Jack Smith is now going to leave Washington, D.C. with his tail between his legs. And so, according to Jack Smith, the reason why he had to dismiss both cases, the classified documents case and, of course, the January 6th election interference case, is because Trump now will be inaugurated on January 20th, and he cited long-standing Justice Department policy prohibiting the prosecution of a sitting American president. And he said, well, with that immunity now that the president has while he's in power for 4 years, There's no point in continuing the prosecution and investigation of Donald J. Trump. We are dismissing all charges. But he insisted in his motion when he filed that it's not because the case wasn't rock solid. No. According to Jackie boy, Jackie said no, the government's case was overwhelming. The government's case was full of merit. The gravity of the crimes were so serious. But what can you do? My hands are tied by DOJ policy. To show you how far Jack Smith has fallen, this is Jack Smith back in August of 2023, announcing his sensational indictment. Remember, unprecedented. Going after a former president of the United States, indicting him on criminal charges regarding January 6th, and what Smith, the DOJ, and the Biden regime said were Trump's attempts to overturn a so-called election. Roll the cut, 3A, Mike.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. The attack on our nation's capital on January 6, 2021, was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy.
Bullcrap. You know what I really want to say? I can't say it. Hokum. Okay? BS. Nonsense. And that's what yesterday's surrender signifies. The dismissal of both indictments against both cases against Trump. Okay, the two indictments against Trump now shows, as Trump rightly said, that it was empty, it was lawless, it was made up, it was pure lawfare. Because, and this is the proof in as they say, the proof of the eating is in the pudding. If he meant any word that he said, and I just played you the clip, if this was an unprecedented assault on our democracy, if this was a mortal threat to our republic and to the rule of law, he wouldn't have asked for the case to be dismissed. Why would he? I wouldn't. If this man is the second coming of Adolf Hitler, if this man is the second coming of an authoritarian dictator, of King George III, who tried to overturn everything this country stands for, I'd say I'll wait 4 years. I'll take him out in January 2029. When he serves his 4 years in office. And we'll pick it up right there. I mean, am I missing something? So, it's obvious. The fact that he asked for the dismissal, and that it was granted, and that he waved the white flag of surrender, not only now vindicates Trump. He didn't just win. He's now innocent. But it is now a damning admission that this was lawfare from the beginning. This was a political, judicial, legal witch hunt from the beginning against Donald Trump. All of these charges, and now this surrender is a confession of this. As I said, it's an admission. Is that their goal was to use this to weaponize the legal system to prevent him from winning in 2024, to prevent him from coming back to the White House and coming back to power. And it was also as a way to punish him. Punish him. How dare you challenge the Biden regime? How dare you challenge the establishment, the ruling class, the uniparty? You think you're going to lead a political insurgency? You think you think the people rule in this country? No. We, the elites, rule. And we're going to send you a message loud and clear. Well, now that all blew up in their face. And now it is obvious for everyone to see. They never believed their witch hunt against Trump. They never believed in these bogus charges against him. And that's why faced with the defeat on November 5, he folded like a cheap suit. Now, as I said on X, and I want to repeat it, what Jack Smith did was unspeakable. What Merrick Garland did was unspeakable. What Fannie Willis and Alvin Bragg and Letitia James did was unspeakable. And now it is time, when Trump comes to office in less than 2 months, he now needs to unleash the hounds of legal war. It's time for Jack Smith to go to jail. This was direct election interference and prosecutorial misconduct. Fannie Willis, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, they need to pay for what they've done. The 2 federal cases are now gone. The Georgia state case against Trump on January 6th, so-called election interference, is on life support. It is going to collapse any day now. That just leaves the hush money case. And that looks like it's going to fall by the end of this year. Trump is triumphant. Yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. Christmas came early again. Winning, baby. 6:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Jack Smith goes down. You know, or as Howard Cosell would have put it, down goes Jack Smith. Down goes Jack Smith. Down goes Jack Smith. I mean, holy shamoly. You know, down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. So let me just ask all of you, what do you make now of the huge news yesterday? Jack Smith has now asked for all of the charges, the federal charges against Trump, whether it be the documents case or the big one they thought they were going to get him, which was the January 6th election interference case, to be dismissed. They have been dismissed without prejudice. The 2 cases now are over. And Smith is now expected to resign before Trump is inaugurated. Democrat lawfare has been decisively defeated. So, is this a triumph for Trump over Jack Smith? Is this a big victory for Trump, not just over Smith, but over Merrick Garland, over the Biden DOJ, and over the entire Democrat lawfare waged against him? Or do you fear, like some do, that they're going to come back after Trump when he ends up filling out his term, and they will do this in 2029? That some other Democrat hack will try to prosecute Trump again after he leaves office 4 years after he's done serving as president? Does it open the door or leave the door open enough for the Democrats to continue to try to go after Trump? My personal view, and then I want to open it up to the phone lines, the point of the lawfare was to prevent Trump from winning. The point of the lawfare was to deny him the presidency. The point of the lawfare was to so punish him that he would not be able to enter the White House. I mean, anything is possible, but I think this could be over. I think the Democrat lawfare strategy so backfired on them. It so raised Trump to the status of a martyr that they would frankly be insane to try to revive these charges against him. But then again, you're dealing with Democrats. 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Dave in Virginia. Thanks for holding, Dave. You're going to kick us off, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Before I get to my point, I'm just going to give you something. When you feel like dropping that word, Bravo Sierra.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And the next one would be Michael Foxtrot. What's in your wallet? Okay. So here's the thing. Jack Smith was not constitutionally appointed. Okay, Merrick Garland made that office out of thin air. They spent about $50 million on the case in Florida and the case in D.C. We need to have either the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, do a full accounting of that office and how it was funded, because Congress never approved him as counsel, prosecutor, whatever. They never created that office, so therefore it could never be funded. How did Merrick Garland fund Jack Smith's position? There should be full accountability of not only what he was paid, but any outside law firms, investigators, things like that. That needs to be taken into account. Do you agree or disagree?
That's a brilliant point. Really, Dave, I got to tell you, talk about hitting the nail on the head. Look, I remember Clarence Thomas made that point in one of these decisions. I forget which one. But he wrote in there that this was an unconstitutional, unlawful appointment. And the judge in Florida agreed. And this was before the D.C. case, the January 6th election interference case. This is the documents case, the classified documents case. And the judge in Florida, and she's an excellent judge, said, well, no, I'm not even going to look at your case on the merits. Why? Because you've been unlawfully appointed. You've been unconstitutionally appointed. And Smith was in the process of trying to appeal her decision that he was unconstitutionally appointed. So he announced yesterday, well, I'm going to drop the appeal because I'm dropping the entire case. So he was defeated on all fronts. But no, you're right. He was unconstitutionally appointed. Only Congress can create a special counsel's office. You can't just willy-nilly create it from the Department of Justice. So it was illegal and unconstitutional and unethical from its it was illegitimate from its very beginning. And Dave, the reason why, and you know this, and I know this, and this great audience knows this, because this wasn't about justice. And this wasn't about prosecuting real crimes. This was about harassing, silencing, and destroying President Trump so he couldn't defeat Joe Biden in 2024. Am I wrong?
Garland was questioned before a committee on this. Of course, he stonewalled them, but they confronted him with those same statements. How did you create the position? Why did you pick Jack Smith? Remember, Jack Smith was the hatchet man in the Virginia elections, which he lost in.
You're dead on. No, he was a partisan hack. He's what they call a headhunter. He was a political assassin. And they dispatched him to take down Trump. And Trump handed his head to him. More next. 31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Sorry, battling a bit of a cold. It's almost like I have a frog in my throat. Anyways, Kuhner Man is fine. Just if you notice, my voice sounds a bit strange. It's a cold. Listen now to Jonathan Turley on Fox News regarding Jack Smith's decision to dismiss all cases and Judge Tanya Chutkin's decision to accept it. The lawfare against Trump has now collapsed. Roll cut 3, Mike.
Smith had a sort of a gratuitous end to his term. He pushed not only for a trial before the election, and he pushed for months for that, but he also released damaging information before the election, something that many people saw as an effort to influence the election. Smith knew that if Trump won, he was out of a job. And this release of the information was entirely unnecessary. The judge admitted that it was procedurally irregular, but she went along with it. And I think that did tarnish his position, and certainly in history, because he didn't have to do that. He had become so absolutely fixated on trying Trump before the election that he lost credibility, I think, with the courts. He went up to the Supreme Court. They didn't accept that was the overriding consideration in looking at these legal issues.
I mean, it's a little bit of legalese, but Turley's dead on. I mean, he's dead on. Look, if you remember, remember the campaign was so furious and the media was throwing everything they had at Trump. So, I mean, you can be forgiven for forgetting, a key aspect of this whole lawfare was Jack Smith, which is something that's never been done. When he says it's irregular, yeah, it's highly irregular. Talk about an understatement. So what Jack Smith did was just before the election. Remember, when you go to court and let's say the prosecution has evidence, the evidence is presented to the lawyers, the defense counsel, the prosecution, and the judge. Now, why? Because then the judge decides, along with the lawyers, what is credible, what is not credible, what is permissible, what is not permissible, what is allowable, what is not allowable, what's prejudicial, what's not prejudicial. In other words, there's a process of determining what evidence is appropriate, what evidence is not appropriate. Right? I mean, judges make rulings all the time on what can you admit in a court, what can't you admit in a court. What Jack Smith did was he literally took all of his notes, all of his witness testimony, everything that he had, and he just threw it into the public domain. He just released it into the public. Now, there's no chance for the defense to cross-examine. There's no chance for the defense to, say, blow the credibility, refute the credibility of many witnesses or provide counter-arguments or counter-facts to some of the claims that he's making. No, he just threw it all out there. Now, I think that would have jeopardized, had Trump lost, it would have jeopardized his case. Because you want to talk about, politicizing politicizing the courtroom and politicizing your indictments against the president. But my point is, he didn't behave as a responsible prosecutor in any sense of the word. He was a headhunter. His job was to get Trump by hook or by crook, even if it meant behaving in the most unethical, frankly despicable manner imaginable. You don't try the case in public. You try the case in a courtroom. So he did everything he could, and he showed his hand. You're not interested in justice. You were there to bring Trump down to lose the election. You were there to make sure he didn't win in November. That was his job. He was a political hatchet man. Now, this is why, and you can agree to disagree, I'm just giving you my honest opinion. Not only is this a massive victory for Trump, I think it's a massive victory for the rule of law. I think it's a massive victory for equal justice under the law. I think it's a massive victory for our constitutional republic. And I think it is a devastating blow to Democrat lawfare. And what Jack Smith did wasn't just sleazy and dirty and immoral and unethical. All that, yes. It was illegal. I'm sorry, what he did was illegal. And that's why you've got to turn the tables on him. And someone needs to tell him, yeah, you better resign. Because on day one, my friend, you're going to now be held accountable for your direct election interference. This was not a prosecution. It was a persecution. And that's the abuse of the law. And that's prosecutorial misconduct. And I think Jack Smith now needs to pay a price and go behind bars. He needs to go to jail. I'm sorry. Fani Willis, as her case is now literally unraveling and collapsing, she needs to go to jail. Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, they need to go to jail. And Merrick Garland needs to go to jail. Because all of this was orchestrated from the Department of Justice. Now, we know what Joe Biden did. And that's why I want to squeeze Merrick Garland and squeeze him hard. because I want Garland to answer this fundamental question. When you unleash Jack Smith to take the president's leading opponent down on bogus charges, and you knew they were bogus charges, you knew these were lies, what did the president know, and when did he know it? 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Tony in Gloucester. Thanks for holding, Tony, and welcome.
Great days, Jeff. Good morning.
Amazing. Honestly, Tony, I'm going to be so thankful. I'm going to eat so much freaking turkey, Tony. I am so grateful. Trump winning, and now this. Holy mackerel.
I'm telling you. A couple of points. I don't know if you saw it. The Democrat-appointed Attorney General, the Southern District of New York, has said he's going to resign. Of course, he was responsible. He let these cases go forward in New York. So he's resigning. But now here's the big thing. Did you see the Polish official who came out and said that half the money that the United States gave to Ukraine was money laundered and sent back to American politicians? Of course, that must be to a lobbyist. I want to see that man come in and testify. I want to see these lobbyists brought into court, forced to testify. Who do they give money to? Where does it come from? And I want to see, I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat, I want to see these people either forced to resign. These are high crimes. Taking the money, they've made it legal with lobbyists. But when you're taking money laundered money, it's been the same thing with Planned Parenthood. It's the only way we're going to clean these things up. And whoever it is that gets arrested, Jack Smith, Letitia James, I have one request. Put them on a plane and send them to Gitmo and let them stay there while their cases are being heard. I think that would be a wonderful thing to do.
I love it. Tony, I love it. Tony, have a happy, blessed Thanksgiving. We've got a lot to be thankful for this year. Tony, God bless you, and thank you for that call. Look, I don't want to get sidetracked because I want to stick to this. Because, look, we've been living under Democrat lawfare for the last 4 years. So this is such a momentous story. So we've talked a lot about Ukraine, but just, indulge me. This is for you, really. You need to know this. Okay, indulge me 20 seconds. Tony is completely right. This is an absolute bombshell story. It is all over Europe. The European media is reporting this. The American media is desperately trying to suppress it, but they can't stop it. A senior Polish official, and the reason why you stress senior, someone with access to Poland's intelligence agencies. So remember, Poland borders Ukraine. They're the bulwark frontline state in this war. So they know exactly what's going on in their neighboring country. And they've been taking in so many Ukrainian refugees and helping Ukraine out in so many ways. Came out and said that the Ukrainian regime of Zelensky is so freaking corrupt that the Ukrainians have laundered half of all of the American aid that has been sent to Ukraine. Half. We're talking about, what is it, $250 billion we've sent them? So, in other words, over $100 billion. He also said much of that has also been returned to Democrat politicians and some Republican politicians. That the money has been laundered in Ukraine, and there are kickbacks to very powerful American politicians up on Capitol Hill. That's why they don't want this war to end. That's why they're willing to risk World War III. And now, to tie it into Jack Smith, that's why they couldn't let Donald Trump win the election. That's why he had to be stopped at all costs. And so what they did was they leashed a campaign of legal terror where they tried to get Trump, bankrupt his businesses, take him off the ballot, put him behind bars. They tried to assassinate him. They indicted him in 4 separate cases. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at him. And now it is collapsing on every single front. So, my question to you, Jack Smith surrenders. He drops both of the federal cases against Trump. The lawfare now is being smashed to pieces. Has Trump won? And has Jack Smith lost? On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Couple lines are open if you want to jump on. I promise I'm going to get to the calls very quickly. I want to play two cuts and ask the poll question of the day, because this is unbelievable. In the face of this humiliating collapse, and that's what it is, it's a collapse. This is a surrender. I mean, of politically historic proportions. I mean, we're kind of like, we're celebrating, we're in a good mood. It's, it's almost like our own VE day, right? Trump has won, and now, Smith has now said he's dropping these two big cases against him. And as I said, Fani Willis now, she may even be disbarred. I mean, she's literally fighting for her professional life right now in Georgia. So it looks like that Georgia case it's gonna collapse. It's gonna unravel. And you've got Alvin Bragg and Letitia James and Judge Merchan, and that's on its last legs as well. So it's a rout, okay, on every front. But think about the last 3 years, the pressure they put the country under. Indicting Trump, bragging about him being in a mugshot in Georgia, going on about how they wanted to put him in jail for 1,000 years, how they were going to come after his supporters, how the FBI was going after Catholics, how they were going after parents at school board meetings, how they were going after people like Tulsi Gabbard, putting her on a TSA terrorist watch list. I mean, they were getting ready to really go after not just Trump, but his supporters. And this lawfare was the tip of the spear. Now, it's all blown up in their face. But what's incredible is the diehards are like, well, we can just come back in 4 years. We'll just revive these charges in 4 years. You're going to revive the January 6, 2021 charges. The charges regarding what happened on January 6, 2021 in 2029? Like, are you people that insane? So, first, this is CNN. Here's Evan Perez announcing the breaking news that broke yesterday. Jack Smith, he's dropped all the charges, all the cases, the indictments, and the judges accepted. Basically, Trump won, we lost. Roll cut 3B, Mike. Okay. Yeah, we have technical issues. Basically, I mean, you can see on their faces everything. They've been leading their listeners and their viewers, the very few that are left, into believing that Trump was going to be put behind bars. It was inevitable. That he was guilty of all of these crimes. Remember that he okay, you got it, Mike? All right, go ahead. Go, Mike.
This has nothing to do with the strength of the case. This simply has to do with the verdict, essentially, that voters gave under Justice Department policy, long-standing Justice Department policy. The department is not allowed to prosecute a president, a sitting president. That shield, essentially, also applies to him as a elected president, as the president-elect.
So basically, oh, no, we have the evidence. Oh, no. These were serious. No, this was, oh my God, these were such massive crimes. But we just can't. We just can't. Our hands are tied. He's going to be president. We just can't do it. Well, no, I'm sorry. If everything was as serious as you claimed and you believe it, Jack Smith wouldn't be dismissing the case or asking for the requesting that the charges and the indictments be dismissed. I wouldn't. Would you? Might say, hey, buddy, here I am, and I'm waiting for you the day you leave office on 2029. And you want to get rid of me? You got to fire me. But he's not doing that. He's unilaterally surrendering. Why? Because that wasn't the point. It was never about justice or actual crimes, because there were none. It was about get Donald Trump at all costs. Now, listen to the panel on CNN, because there are a few diehards. Roll cut 3C, Mike.
These cases could be revived after Trump serves this next term, right?
That's right. I mean, if you look at the language that the special counsel used and that the judge uses in deciding this, without prejudice, means that when Donald Trump is no longer president of the United States, these cases could be revived.
Okay, right. So, look at it. Yeah, hope springs eternal. We'll get him 4 years from now. By the way, and that involves a future prosecutor, not Jack Smith. So it's got to be somebody else who they say, yeah, in January 21, 2029, we're going to continue to go after Trump over what happened on January 6, 2021. Even though the country said move on. Even though, again, they have suffered defeat after defeat after defeat after defeat. I mean, come on, this is pathetic. Honestly, it's pathetic. But anyway, it leads to the Kuhner Country poll question of the day. Sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Now that Jack Smith has dismissed both indictments, and that Judge Chutkin has accepted and dismissed all the cases without prejudice, do you believe the Democrats will still try to revive the January 6 cases against Trump when he leaves office? In other words, is this victory permanent for Trump? Or is it only a 4-year temporary victory? Will the Democrats try to revive the January 6 cases against Trump when he leaves office in 2029? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. You can also vote via X, very active again like last night. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhn as in national ER. Lines are jammed. Patrick in the great state of Connecticut. Thanks for holding, Patrick, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, I want to tell you I really love the long call format of your show, but I want to revisit the Hegstaff nomination one more time with you. The last time we spoke, you and I agreed that this case in California needs to be thoroughly investigated. And I on Friday, I sent a note to the Trump the transition team that said they needed to broaden the scope of his background. I'd like to go through a couple of key dates in his career, if that's okay. We know that in 2003, Pete graduated college and accepted a commission in the United States Army. In 2004, he went on active duty, and then he went on active duty for about a year, and then he went on active duty again mid-July of 2005 through some point in 2006 or 2007. Contemporaneously, he was married in 2004, and that marriage ended as a result of adultery. So I know, it sounds like an old stodgy, concept of marriage fidelity, but the problem, I think the sexual problem that Pete may face is not the rape allegation, because I think that her case is relatively weak. But the case, the problem he has is adultery, because adultery is illegal in the military. And knowing that he has, he's cheated on every wife, and more than likely he's cheated more than once on every wife. In fact, in the 2017 case, he effectively cheated on 2 women at the same time, because he was not yet divorced, but he was living with another woman with an illegitimate child, or a love child. It was effectively an adulterous double play. But getting back to the main point, if he committed adultery, because he committed adultery and adultery is illegal in the military, he would have tremendous moral problems leading the uniformed personnel of the Defense Department.
Well, Patrick, look, I mean, you're making your case. I don't want to get too sidetracked. I mean, I really, because we're going to be discussing Hegseth, I guarantee you, when I come back from Thanksgiving break, because you're right. The Democrats have become emboldened. They took out Matt Gaetz, and now they believe they can take out Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So they think they can knock off many of Trump's nominees, especially those that are promising a lot of change and disruption in some of these key cabinet positions. Look, Patrick, let me state my case on adultery. And I'm not saying this to be sanctimonious or self-righteous. I just want people to know literally where I'm coming from. I am a devout Catholic. I'm a devout Christian. I married my wife. When I married her, I took a vow that I would never, ever betray her. I've never betrayed her. I've never slept with another woman. I don't want to sleep with another woman. She's the only woman for me. I'll be very candid with you. So I don't fool around. So just so that you know where I'm coming from. Yes, in theory, I agree with you. In an older America, in a better America, in a more religious Christian or Judeo-Christian America, affairs would sink people's candidacies. That I know, because I remember John Tower in the 1980s. And he had a couple of affairs, and it ruined, I think it was for Secretary of Defense, correct me if I'm wrong. But I know it was for a top-level cabinet position. And that was under Reagan. And the infidelities got him. So I understand that. But we now live in a very different age. And I'm sorry, but look, what's sauce for the goose now is sauce for the gander. After Bill Clinton, the commander-in-chief, got serviced in the White House by a 21-year-old intern, or, literally raped women in the White House, and that's what he did to several of these women, like Kathleen Willey, to me, I don't, whether he had affairs or didn't have affairs, especially when you look at so many others in the Biden administration or people in the Biden military who have been promoted, and all they did was sleep around and sleep around and sleep around. So if all they've got on Pete Hegseth is that the guy is a horn dog, okay, if that's what it is, and I'm not saying it is, I don't know. You're claiming he's had all these adulterous affairs. I don't know if that's true or not. But let's just assume for the sake of argument it is. In the military, big deal. And I'm telling you, I know a lot of people in the military, and there's a lot of adultery. When they go overseas, their spouses commit adultery, they commit adultery. It's quite rampant, and I'm not saying everyone does it, far from it, but it's quite rampant. And as for how Hegseth's going to be seen by the men and the women in the military, look, they love him because he wants to de-wokeify the military. And they can't stand wokeism. They can't stand what's been done to the Coast Guard, to the Navy, to the Army, to the Marines. So, look, really, I think this is pathetic on the part of his enemies to go after Hegseth. They can't get him on anything substantial. So now they're going to play the adultery card. In Washington, D.C., look, I'm with Marjorie Taylor Greene on this. They have a slush fund, taxpayer funded. We pay for this. How many senators, how many members of Congress have been caught in adulterous extramarital relationships, and we have to pay for their non-disclosure agreements? So if they're going to go after Pete on this, I'm telling you, we're going to unleash a holy war. Pete Hegseth is competent. He's a military man. He served multiple tours. He's written several best-selling books. He's the guy to disrupt the Pentagon. He's not from the military-industrial complex. He's not from the swamp. And ultimately, I think that's the big sin against him. They can't control him. That's why they want to destroy him. So honestly, Patrick, look, in theory, I don't fool around. I never have. I hope to God I never do. And yes, in Jeff Kuhner's ideal America, 40, 50, 60 years ago, yes, I think we should uphold very high social moral standards. But we live in a very different age. And I'm sorry, the Democrats have gotten away with this sort of stuff for 40 years. Hegseth should be the next Secretary of Defense, and I will back him all the way. Patrick, thank you for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. And look, to bring it back to our discussion, because I don't want to get sidetracked, look, compare here. Hegseth, let's just say for the sake of argument that he was cheating. Okay, just for the sake of argument. Okay, he's a bit of a ladies' man. Okay, just for the sake of for the sake of argument. Compare that to what Merrick Garland has done. I'm just talking about these lawfare cases. Compare that to Jack Smith. Compare that to Fannie Willis, to Alvin Bragg, to Letitia James. So, I mean, look, again, I love my wife. My marital vow to her is sacred, okay? Please, don't get me wrong. But, cheating on my wife or putting an innocent man in jail for the rest of his life, going after his family, telling the FBI to go in with, guns blazing, shoot to kill, shoot the wife, shoot the son, shoot the president, go after political opponents and throw them in gulags and throw them behind bars for 10, 15, 20 years where people are literally committing suicide because they're breaking under that kind of pressure. I mean, I'm sorry. Look, Kuhner, I don't fool around. I don't want to fool around. I'm just trying to, don't please misunderstand me. But I'm telling you what they've done is infinitely worse than whether Pete Hegseth, took a roll in the hay with this woman or that woman. And by the way, from my understanding, it's all consensual. So again, morally, I don't approve. You should never cheat on your spouse. But if it's between two consensual adults, it's not illegal. It's not a crime. 617-266-6868. But going after an innocent man, targeting him and saying we're going to get him and we're going to destroy his business and we're going to put him behind bars for 500 years and we're going to destroy his family and we're going to target his supporters. No, that to me is a much, much more serious crime. And that's why I think Jack Smith needs to pay. And that's why he's getting out of Dodge while he can. And if I'm Trump, don't let him. Don't let him. Say, no. Now, as Pam Bondi said, now the prosecutors will be prosecuted. Now the investigators will be investigated. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Bruce in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Bruce, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, you left out the big pot. Besides going up, Merrick Garland, Jack Off Smith, all these Lucretia McEvils, all these people, they didn't just want to put him in jail, Jeff. They wanted him dead. Are you kidding me, dude? He needs to not do what they did with Hillary Clinton and just kick the can down the road and let her off the hook.
Well, Bruce, you're right, as usual. You always get to the point very quickly, and you're right. Look, the two assassination attempts. And I'm telling you, that came directly from this Democrat lawfare strategy against Trump. They vilified him as a threat to democracy. Remember what Jack Smith said, okay? And what the Merrick Garland DOJ, this is what they were trying to frame Trump with. And I promise I'll give you the last word, Bruce. They first claimed, you remember, that he was keeping not just classified sensitive documents at Mar-a-Lago. You remember that? But these were nuclear secrets. Do you remember that? Military secrets. Oh my God. They're gonna find out our nuclear arsenal. They're gonna find out all our nuclear secrets. And it turned out to be a pack of lies. It was all one big fat lie. So they tried to portray him as a traitor, as someone who is willing to sell our intelligence and nuclear secrets to the highest bidder. Well, that didn't work. So then he wanted to overturn an election. January 6th, the insurrection. He's a domestic terrorist, an insurrectionist, a dictator. That all stemmed from the Democrats' lawfare, straight from the DOJ and the Biden regime. So they built up this myth, this made-up fabrication, this propaganda, as the Russians would put it, of this wannabe tyrant, this wannabe dictator, this wannabe Hitler. Now, this is what Jack Smith was going to prove in court. If you want, I'll play the cut again, where he announces these ridiculous charges. This was a threat to our democracy. This was a threat to our republic. Never in our history is something like this. This was an assault on America. Well, if you believe even half of what you just said, why are you asking for your cases now to be dismissed after he won? Oh, Justice Department policy says we can't prosecute a sitting president. I'd wait 4 years. Who wouldn't wait 4 years? I'd wait 4 years. God is my witness. I swear to you, okay? I swear to you, I'm a prosecutor, and I'm convinced that a man is exactly what Jack Smith said about Trump. Hey, buddy, January 21, 2029, I'm waiting for you. Right outside the White House, I'm waiting for you. He's not waiting for anybody. He's going to resign, and he's off into private practice to make more money. So with that completely now revealed, he didn't believe a word. It was all Bravo Sierra, okay? As they would say. It was all Bravo Sierra. Remember, they admitted we lied about Trump being Hitler. We lied. We made it up. We just did it to scare people. Now you watch. This is pretty much close to an admission as you're going to get, but someone's going to say the quiet part out loud. Nah, we never thought he was a threat to democracy. We just had to go after the guy over something. So we got him. We tried to get him on January 6th. We made up crimes and we tried to get him. We had to get him. Now, you can't do that. That's what they do in third world, literally, in third world socialist banana republics. Well, like I said, what is this, an Eastern European dictatorship? They're running a republic here, or is this Belarus? Final word to you, Bruce.
I hope that whoever gets in the AG and it goes after the FBI, well, not the FBI, but Merrick Island in particular, and all these people that have lied and lied and lied and fabricated stuff and cost the American people all kinds of millions of dollars, Jeff. It's worse than giving money to Ukraine. They're screwing our own people.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. $50 million, taxpayer dollars, flushed right down a rat hole. Right down a rat hole. That's what it cost. All these investigations, prosecutions, that's just federal. I'm not talking about the states. The Georgia case and the New York case. $50 million. That's a lot of salaries. By the way, I was shocked. Do you know that Jack Smith, how much time left, Mike? Okay, 15 seconds. Do you know that Jack Smith had twice the number of personnel and lawyers than Robert Mueller did? Twice the number. Twice. Hey, Jackie, Jack Smith, this is for you, my friend. Hit the road, buddy. Yep, and don't come back. Well, actually, no, we do want to see you come back, but this time in an orange jumpsuit. Okay, 7:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Super quick reset, and I'm going to go right back to the phone lines. Huge news yesterday. There's no way to overstate this. A massive, significant victory for Donald Trump. You could almost hear the champagne corks popping at Mar-a-Lago. Jack Smith now forced to surrender. Complete capitulation. He has now asked, and the request has been granted, to dismiss all of the federal charges, both cases, the two indictments, one for classified documents, the other one for the January 6th so-called election interference case. He has now asked for both to be dismissed. They have been dismissed without prejudice. Donald Trump is innocent. He won. He triumphed. And Democrat lawfare lost. Now, very, very quickly, a lot of reaction to Patrick in Connecticut's call on Pete Hegseth, and I promise we're going to do Pete extensively because the Dems are going to try to knock his nomination off. About Pete allegedly being a bit of a ladies' man and not fit to be Secretary of Defense because technically adultery is illegal in the military. This is from Larry, who is an Air Force veteran himself. Jeff, what on God's green earth does that have to do with Hegseth's ability to run the Pentagon? Set Clinton the Lech aside for a moment, Jeff. Biden digitally raped Tara Reid and molested his own daughter, and Democrats held him in the highest regard. Well, that's what I was trying to get to Patrick. I go, look, I'm sorry. Yeah, in theory, sure. 40, 50, 60 years ago, it's true. Adultery would, you could lose a confirmation hearing over it. Okay, I understand. But we live this is a very different age now. So if I'm going to see Bill Clinton as commander-in-chief and Joe Biden as commander-in-chief, and I could go on, and, they're good enough to lead the whole military. They're the commander-in-chief. Yeah, so were they consensual affairs? Yeah, okay. I never cheated on my wife. I'm not a big, I don't promote adultery. Please don't get me wrong. But this has nothing to do with his abilities to run the Pentagon. End of story. 617-266-6868 is the number. And Democrats have no moral authority after Joe Biden and Bill Clinton, and I could go on, to lecture anybody about sexual morality. Kathy in Stowe. Thanks for holding, Kathy, and welcome.
I just wanted to say I agree with everything that you said in theory, but one thing was left out. If any of these people would get on their knees and ask Jesus' forgiveness, then they would be where Trump is today and having the victory.
Kathy, that's a wonderful point. And, because we're going to be off tomorrow. We're all off. We're going to have holiday programming. We're much deserved break. I'm tired. Sandy, Mike, it's been a very long, grueling year for us. So we're getting a little bit of an extra break for Thanksgiving. I'm going to be sleeping and enjoying Thanksgiving with my family and resting. But I love your point because it's perfect for Thanksgiving. Trump humbled himself. He's spoken openly about this. And especially after he was almost assassinated. And he realized that God had a plan for him. And that it's no longer about him. It's about the country. It's about, in many ways, the world. But it's especially about the country and others. And he said this, that he has gotten much more religious over the years. He's become much more Christian over the years. That he has really now rediscovered God. And it's actually very moving. And he says, I've been transformed by it. It's what sustains me. It's what fuels me. It's what drives me. And he says, that's why I will keep every single promise. Because I know now I will be judged by God. God spared my life. And God will ask me, I've spared your life. What did you do with your life after I spared it? You inherited the greatest office in the world. And what did you do with it? So this is why everybody around Trump says, this is a different man than he was 10 years ago. Some ways, of course, he's always Trump. Trump will always be Trump. But there's something about him. It is moral. It is spiritual. It is transcendental. And so I think you are, Kathy, I think you are completely right. Final word to you, Kathy.
Oh, Thank you, and I think you are completely right in what you said this morning.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
happy
Kathy.
Thanksgiving, my dear.
Happy Thanksgiving. God bless you, and all the best to you and your family. Thank you, Kathy. So, I'm just being honest with you. So I'm going to start casting stones on Pete Hegseth? No, absolutely not. Now, if it's sexual assault, if it's rape, that's a very different, ball of wax. But they haven't proven anything. Look, come on. I don't want to get sidetracked with Hegseth. Okay, so as I said, we'll be talking about him enough. The Democrats care about adultery? Like, are we serious? The Republican establishment, they care about adultery? People on Capitol Hill, you think they care about adultery? The media? Oh my, if you only knew the stories about the media that I know. Oh, it's a bordello. It's a bordello. I mean, they partied with Jeffrey Epstein. That's all you need to know. I'm talking leading media figures partied with Jeffrey Epstein. So you're going to go on about supposedly, Hegseth, they're going to start, pearl clutching. Oh, Pete, he cheated on his wife. Oh, yeah, okay. Relax. He's going to be a great defense secretary. That's all that matters. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, do you remember this? This was in 2022. The media, here's a montage of the anti-Trump, destroy Trump media when they had the search at Mar-a-Lago for all those supposed classified documents that he had retained. And that, and then the FBI came in guns blazing with shoot to kill orders. And the media was chanting and cheering, saying no one is above the law. Do you remember that? Roll cut 3D, Mike.
It just sends the message that there is no person in this country who's above the law.
What we are seeing here is exactly what should be done. We need to recognize and praise Merrick Garland for following the rule of law.
The message that it sends is really important, that even the former president of the United States can be held accountable and should be and will be.
Yep. Now, I'm just giving you a small taste. I could play minutes and minutes of this. Okay, cut after cut after cut after cut. Well, now it's going to be used against him. You're right. No one is above the law. Jack Smith is not above the law. Fani Willis, Alvin Bragg, Merrick Garland, Joe Biden, no one's above the law. You unleashed lawfare against an innocent man. And now the tables are going to be turned. You need to be held accountable. And that's what yesterday, to me, really signified. It wasn't just the collapse of Democrat lawfare. It's now the admission that these people never had any evidence, never even believed what they did. They perverted our justice system. They corrupted our justice system. They politicized our justice system. And now those very same people, and this is, by the way, and this was direct election interference. This makes January 6th look like a Sunday picnic. Now they need to pay. Agree, disagree. As Pam Bondi said, the incoming Attorney General. The prosecutors will now be prosecuted. The investigators will now be investigated. It's about time, baby. Sal in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Sal, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Jeff,
Hi,
you could go as far back as in 2016 when Comey came out with that press conference about Hillary Clinton. Now, my opinion is none of this really would have, possibly happened had he made an example of Hillary Clinton. And she had all the evidence to convict her was all there. He laid it all out. Nothing happened. Now look at Russian collusion. We know it was a lie. It was all made up. You've got Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Strzok, Page, McCabe, all of them. Nothing has happened to them. So the only way this is going to possibly end and not happen the way it's happened for the last 8 years against Trump is to make these people accountable and investigate the investigators. Just like Pam Bondi said, that's the only way. They have to suffer. They have to.
Well, Sal, look, just to piggyback and reinforce what you're saying, Trump, I got the clip. We can find it, but please take it to the bank. I know this for a fact. Trump was asked, because every president makes mistakes in their presidency. Okay, even the greatest presidents. No person is infallible. None. I mean, you have great presidents, you have mediocre presidents, you have horrible presidents, but even the greatest of the great presidents, like all great men, make mistakes. And honestly, when you study history, what you realize is great men tend to make great mistakes. They also have great successes and great achievements. But because they're great, they strive for the stars. And sometimes they achieve it, and sometimes they don't, and they crash and burn. So my point is, great men make mistakes. Okay, that's just a statement of fact. Trump was asked, what was your greatest mistake in your first term? And he didn't even blink an eye. He said, I should have prosecuted Hillary Clinton. Now, to be fair, he said, look, I want to give you my reasoning so you understand where I was coming from. He said, I ended up deciding not to prosecute her because I'm dealing with Russia and I'm dealing with China and I'm dealing with Iran and North Korea and I'm dealing with mortal enemies around the world. And the signal that it would send to the world that the United States has now become a banana republic, that we're going after now former presidential candidates, political rivals and political opponents. Our enemies would use it against us, and it would be such effective propaganda that it would truly undermine our influence and standing in the world. And he said, as the president of the United States, I said, I will not allow that to happen. He goes, I knew what she did to me. I knew how she smeared me with the Russia hoax. I knew everything that she had done. I knew she was guilty of sin. I knew that she destroyed 33,000 emails, smashed her phones, had classified information on an unsecure server. I mean, she committed so many high crimes, it's not even funny. But he said, for the good of our country in terms of its international, our prestige and image, I said, I can't allow that to happen to our country. I was wrong. Because, yes, we would have taken a hit. He said this. No question. Look, you're going to take a hit. Countries around the world are going to say, what the hell's going on in America? I mean, Hillary runs against Trump and suddenly Trump puts Hillary in jail? What the hell is this? But the consequences of her not going to prison were infinitely worse. And that's when he began to start telling that story of the snake. You let the snake in. The snake, you knew the snake. You knew the nature of the snake. You knew the snake wants to bite you and kill you and your family, but you still let them in. Hillary Clinton was the snake. What Trump now understands, above all, is that the deep state is the snake. She's just one head of this hydra, of this multi-headed snake. And notice this time, Sal, just stand back objectively, okay? Compare the first term, the transition, to this one. When Trump won in 2016 and everyone's like, oh, wow, who's going to be in his cabinet? Look at how much more chaotic it was, a bit more indecisive. He wasn't sure who to pick because he was completely new to politics. He would defer to the experts more, Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan. Look at him now. It was like boom, 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 boom. I mean, he knows exactly who he wants, in what position, and why. I mean, we're not even Thanksgiving. We're still 2 days away, Sal. He's picked his entire cabinet. I've never heard of this. The whole cabinet is picked. The only one, and this is not a cabinet position, the only one he still hasn't picked that everyone's waiting for, with bated breath, is obviously FBI director. But every major cabinet, he's got his nominees. This is a very different Trump. This is a worldly Trump. This is an experienced Trump. This is a battle-hardened Trump. This is a Trump now, as I said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. As Trump said, I never make the same mistake twice. Final word to you, Sal.
Well, I agree, absolutely. We've spoken before and talked about it. I think he thought that everybody was going to fall in line. He was going to have a honeymoon phase. They weren't going to attack him. He thought everybody was just going to fall in line once he won back in 2016. Well, he's not going to make that mistake again because he knows no matter what he does, the media is going to attack him anyway. It doesn't matter. He has to do what's right for the country, no matter what. The media says, who cares? They're against him anyway. He has to do what he was put there for, and the American people spoke. He won the popular vote. I mean, a majority of the American people want his agenda, so he's got to do it no matter what.
Oh, and we want the deep state cleaned out. I mean, that's at the top of the list. Thank you, Sal. Outstanding call, and happy Thanksgiving. All the best to you and your family. No, look, to me, that's why the pick of Pam Bondi is very significant, because she's going to put people in jail. And when he said Matt Gaetz is going to be appointed as special counsel, I said, no, he's taking the gloves off. People now, this time around, people are going to go to prison. And the DOJ knows this. I want to play this cut. Mike, do we have time? How much time do we have left, Mike? Yeah, okay, I'll play it on the other side. So this is from CBS, and they've got inside sources in Garland's DOJ, okay, Biden's DOJ, and they're saying they are so demoralized over there. They realize now lawfare has failed. All of their corruption, all of the weaponization of the legal system, all of it now is going to get exposed, and many of them are going to be fired, and some of them, yes, are going to be put behind bars. I've got that cut. More with your calls. Don't touch that dial. 49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Winning. Boy, it's going to be a great Thanksgiving. That's all I got to say. So, Jack Smith yesterday throws in the towel. He requests that both indictments, the one regarding classified documents, the January 6th case, be dismissed. Both have been dismissed. It is now effectively over. The lawfare has now failed. Trump has won. And now President Trump understands he has a once-in-a-generation opportunity to do what many presidents have dreamed of, but they were never able to accomplish, and that is to clean out the partisan career bureaucrats, the Democratic hacks and partisans who now corrupt and co-opt the Department of Justice. Listen now. This is Harry Littman on CBS saying at the Department of Justice, they are worried about Trump coming back. They are very, very worried. Roll cut 4. Mike.
What's it like for the career attorneys at the Justice Department who see these cases falling apart? Are they demoralized by this, or are they kind of like, well, Dem's the rules, we just got to do what the rules say?
No, this is not a Dems the rules as usual kind of situation. It's not simply these cases falling apart, but the assertion of the power just from the president to make them fall apart and other things that are contemplated for the DOJ. We have a really demoralized career staff, people putting their resumes on the street, people being really afraid of what Trump's entry will mean for the storied DOJ function of doing justice without fear or favor. This is the worst crisis I've ever seen in DOJ history.
Cry me a river, baby. When they say, oh, this is a crisis, you know what that means? The deep state's on the run. That the swamp now is genuinely worried. And when they're saying, career attorneys, okay, Democratic hacks and appointees, they're putting their resumes out on the street. Great. It's a form of self-deportation. Leave. Good. Go. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And again, I don't want to get sidetracked. Did you see what's happening in Springfield, Ohio? Obviously, different story, but the Haitian migrants are all leaving. It's like an army of them. They're all self-deporting for anticipation of Trump coming. It's amazing. Don't you sense the country's the country's already getting better, and the guy's not even in office yet. But, they're self-deporting. In reality, illegals are self-deporting. But at the DOJ, professionally, they're self-deporting. I don't want to get fired. Let me just leave. So that viper's nest is starting to already get cleaned out. Now, if they believed in what they said, if they actually believed in what they charged Trump with, hey, guys, make your stand. That's what I would do. That's what any other half-decent person would. They tried to kill the king, and they missed. 617-266-6868. And as they say, now comes the reckoning. It was all a lie from the beginning. As Trump said, these were all empty, lawless, made-up indictments and charges to defeat me and to prevent me from coming back to the White House. It had nothing to do with justice, nothing to do with any real crimes. It was the ultimate politicization of our legal system and the Department of Justice. And that's why, to me, Trump has a moral, constitutional, legal duty, an obligation to go in there and clean house, baby. Tom in the great state of Ohio. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Bang, bang, bang. Jeff, you know what that sound is?
Is that liberal heads exploding?
No, that is the sound of nails going into the coffin of this lawfare.
Excellent. Love it.
So, Jeff, I think that he needs to unleash the hounds. Let the pit bull off the chain, whether that's Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and go after every last one of them. Every one of them.
Tom, what do you think about maybe Gates? Gates says he wants to be a special counsel and investigate what really happened on January 6th and let the American public know exactly what took place that day and who was ultimately responsible and have them be exposed and unmasked. What do you think of Matt Gates as a special counsel?
I think it's brilliant, Jeff. And what Matt Gates needs to do is, on day one, he needs to get a hold of the T-shirt, and he needs to tell him, we are going to air all these hearings. And if you want to say Section 236, you're going to show every one of them, because Elon will. You also go to Joe Rogan, Charlemagne the God, and everybody, and you show them that they were using an Enron statute. They used something against these people that was flimsy as hell. And quite frankly, I think this summer, the court said that's a little dicey that you're using that Enron statute for delaying a governmental, I think, proceeding against a lot of these people. So go after them. And also, you pardon Navarro, you pardon Steve Bannon, and then Laura Trump has got these tens of thousands of attorneys that they marshal together for the election. You have them pour through every one of the J6 people that were in there unlawfully, and Trump pardons them all.
Oh, I love it. Tom, I love it, love it, love it. Tom, I'm just curious. Now that they've suffered such a defeat, I mean, it's like in boxing terms, they've been knocked out. I mean, really knocked out. Crushing knockout. Do you think they're going to want to come back in 4 years and go after Trump again for January 6th? Or do you think the left has learned their lesson?
What I'm hoping, Jeff, is they did it is with prejudice means that it's still quote alive, right?
Yes, without prejudice means in theoretically, they could come back in 4 years and revive these cases against Trump. But I mean, it's most legal experts say it would be insanity to do so.
Well, then you know what? Let's just put a fork in it. Go to an appellate court or go all the way to the Supreme Court. You know, get it so that it is discharged completely. Because I think that the more you expose this for what it is, the more the American people, Jeff, will understand that this is one hell of a corrupt government. And it goes really, really deep.
I agree. Tom, I really agree. Tom, thank you very much for that call. Have a happy Thanksgiving, Tom. All the best to you and your family. No, look, just stand back objectively, okay? Just stand back objectively. If I'm a liberal, if I'm a Democrat, obviously if I'm an American, that goes without saying, but especially those who bought and believed and swallowed the lies. So Trump is not Hitler? You lied to us? Hold on. Whoa. So he didn't retain illegally highly classified documents? Hold on. He never had nuclear secrets? That was all made up? Whoa, hold on. What? Oh, hold on. He didn't try to overturn an election? He's not a threat to democracy? You guys made all that up? So hold on. Whoa. This wasn't January 6th, wasn't the worst thing to happen to America since the Civil War? You mean it wasn't worse than 9/11? It wasn't worse than Pearl Harbor? It wasn't worse than World War I? No. And you all lied to us? And kept repeating that lie? And the DNC lied? The Biden regime lied? The DOJ lied? Jack Smith lied? The entire media lied? It was lie, nonstop. Repeat, lie, repeat, lie, repeat, lie. And that's how you've conditioned us into thinking this man is an absolute monster? When we now know you've been lying to us about him? That it was nothing more than a fear-mongering, a scare tactic? A propaganda tactic? I mean, think about how profoundly disillusioning this is. Now, please bear with me, okay? Look, Thanksgiving is on Thursday. We're not going to be on the air tomorrow. It is exactly tied to the larger point of how we've been relentlessly lied to and that they knew they were lying to us. Okay, so just bear with me on this. What else did they lie to us about? Okay, we know this now. They knew Trump was never an agent of Russia. Russia collusion was a lie, a fabricated lie and smear, and they knew it. We know that. The Hunter Biden laptop, where they said it was Russian disinformation, and they knew it was all true. Everything on that laptop was authentic and real. They constantly lied to us. But what about COVID? Just stand back for a second. They lied to us. And we know they lied to us. Because they told us that they deliberately lied to us. Now, I want you to hear this. You need to hear this. This is stunning. Absolutely stunning. James O'Keefe, okay, his people have struck again. And so they send an undercover reporter. Now listen to this. And they're having a conversation. This undercover reporter is having a conversation with the chief of health data standards at the National Institute of Health. His name is Raja Sholan. Now, listen to this. He says, oh no, we funded the lab in Wuhan. I shouldn't be saying this. Oh, but yeah, we lied. Yeah, of course we lied. Fauci lied. Collins lied. The government lied. We were all lying. Of course we funded the lab in Wuhan. Roll cut 6. Mike.
What do you think about the NIH now that you were working there?
Probably shouldn't be saying this out loud. They might have funded a lab in Wuhan, China, to make and Pfizer and Moderna was getting a bunch of money from it, from all these vaccine mandates.
Okay. He says I probably shouldn't be saying this out loud. But he said they made a lot of money off that lab in Wuhan. They made a lot of money off of funding this gain of function research. Then, listen to this. He's then asked, remember, this is the guy who's the chief of health data standards. Okay, this is the guy, in other words, who's going to uphold the standards? Him. What's in the what's in the mRNA vaccine that they rolled out? He's the guy that knows. He's supposed to say, he's the quality control guy. Okay, so think of a plant. He's the quality control guy. The quality control guy, now listen to this, says, yeah, we knew there were side effects, myocarditis, heart inflammation, and, what can I tell you? We're all going to learn about it when it's too late, when people start dropping dead. Roll cut 6A. Mike.
Do you think that with the mRNA stuff is safe? Would it really affect people with the myocarditis stuff?
But I think we're all going to learn when it's too late.
Okay? So he's like, yeah, it has adverse effects. But hey, it's going to be too late then because people will be dead. Now, here's one more. Okay? Here's one more. Remember at the height of COVID, I'll never forget this. I was digging, investigating, researching, and I said, the whole 6-foot social distancing. Remember what they put us all through? At work, at the grocery store. Remember this? You could only walk down one way on one aisle, one way on another aisle. Every offices, hospitals, they closed down the schools over the 6-foot rule. Do you remember that? Right, because you couldn't put the desks 6 feet apart because there were too many students. So they had to shut down the schools. And the damage it did to our kids. And remember I said, I want to know, where did Fauci come up with 6 feet? Because in Sweden and other places in Europe, it was 2.5 feet. It was 3 feet. I said, where did they come up with 6 feet? And I'll never forget this. I got such blowback for this. I said, I'm telling you, they made it up. Just out of a hat. They just said, 5, 7, 4, make it 6. Make it 6 feet. What the hell? Here it is. Roll cut 6B. Mike.
The 6-foot rule. Remember that? That wasn't based on any real evidence that did anything. It was completely made up.
It was completely made up. It was completely made up. Now, just stand back. I know we're talking about Jack Smith, okay? I understand that. But it all really converges. Think about how they kept drilling into our heads. Television, media, Hollywood, radio, newspapers, public health authorities. I could go on. Teachers. Everybody. 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet. And how they impose this across all of our society, the entire country, every aspect of our lives. How many family members? Stay away from me. Stay away. 6 feet. Stay away from me. Your grandmother, your mother is dying in a hospital. 6 feet. You can't see her. 6 feet. She has to die alone. I could go on and on and on of the immense damage that was done. It was all made up. What? No, there was no scientific basis to it at all. We just looked around and said, let's pick a number. And then go around and say, 6 feet. I am science, as Fauci said. I am the science. And then, when people like me went on social media or on the air and said, this is 1,000% pure, unadulterated Bravo Sierra. Okay? BS. I was censored. I was the threat to democracy. I had to be silenced. Take him off the air. Fire him. Take food out of the mouths of his children. The frenzy that they created, the mob mentality. Think of the libs lecturing you, going nuts. 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet. Snitching, reporting. By the way, the masks, garbage. They made that up too. Okay, not the N95 masks. I'm talking about those, those masks, that you just, the disposable masks. Well, I gotta wear a mask. Useless. Like, literally useless. All those. By the way, I saw 3 of these moonbats at the movies on Saturday. I took Ava and her friend to see Wicked, this Disney production. Actually, a very good movie. Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. Anyway, actually, very good movie. Well, I know, in theory, I'm boycotting Disney, Mike. But, my baby girl, my baby Ava, said, Daddy, please, I want to see Disney. And her friend was with her, and she said, Mr. Kuhner, please, 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 please. So I said I couldn't help myself. I said, okay, this one time, I'm going to break my own rule. So the kids had a blast. Anyway, you see 3 of them with these disposable masks in the movie theater. They look like freaks now compared to everybody else. These ridiculous masks. And you could see in their eyes, like, we're going to get COVID. We're going to die. We're going to die. The masks are going to save us. You're an idiot. You're a brainwashed idiot. Honestly, I feel sorry for you. Now, what's my point? My point is, look how they have lied to us, and they keep lying to us over and over and over again, and nobody is held accountable or responsible. And can you imagine now you're a liberal? You've believed all of this garbage now for 8 years? That Trump is a Russian agent? Lie. The Hunter Biden laptop was Russian misinformation? That Trump is a dictator? That Trump is a threat to democracy? That Trump stole intelligence and military and nuclear secrets and held it in Mar-a-Lago? The COVID-19 virus didn't originate in the lab in Wuhan. It came from some wet market. That masks work. That the jab had no side effects. 6 feet social distancing. You have been systematically, consistently lied to. And you don't even dare to question and be skeptical and ask yourself why? Trump needs to expose all of this. RFK is going to break it open on the COVID front. Pam Bondi is going to break it open on the DOJ front. God willing, Kash Patel will do it on the FBI front. Pete Hegseth is going to do it on the military-industrial Pentagon front. You're going to have Tulsi Gabbard do it on the intelligence, CIA, NSA, the deep state front. So the people that he's choosing is a clear sign Trump is now going to go to war with the swamp. And that's why the swamp is now demoralized and in a panic. Yesterday was a surrender. That's why this is such fantastic news. This is like us landing on the beaches in Normandy, and we're now making the rush to push to Berlin. And now the Nazis are starting to put their hands up and surrender. No more. No more. 9. Jack Smith waved the white flag of surrender. Let's keep going. Don't stop until the enemy is thoroughly defeated and conquered. Agree, disagree, 617-266-7610. 6868 is the number. Okay, take all of your calls on the other side. Jack Smith is now dismissing all of the cases against Trump. It is now over for Democrat lawfare. Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare. 617-266-6868. Okay, lines are full. I want to get to them, but just quickly. This is from Marianne on Messenger, and sums up my feelings to a T, to an absolute T. Good morning, Jeff. Well, good morning, Marianne. My favorite thing is going to be to sit back and watch Fauci going down. I'm telling you, I'd pay good money for that, Marianne. That little weasel bastard needs to serve prison time for so many things, not just COVID. He screwed up the AIDS epidemic. And I almost died because of him, because I needed a blood transfusion, and I wasn't going to get one until my doctor set me straight about what was really going on way back in the 1980s. I literally was on my deathbed at that time, and this was in Rhode Island. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, Marianne. I really am. So, and then Marianne goes on, about, and everything that happened with COVID. And she's very, again, in retrospect, it all seems so insane. But, remember, this is how, and I love the way Marianne describes it. Jeff, I didn't know the virus could only travel one way down an aisle in a store. That they arbitrarily chose in the store as far as which aisle would go one way and which aisle would go the other way. I remember being in Publix when all this first started, and I was at the meat counter, and I was behind some lady. She was behind her shopping cart, and my shopping cart was behind her. So I was always away from her. Publix. My bad. Publix. I apologize. So, and then this woman turned around and started screaming at me that I was contaminating her and to get further away. And I mean, she was literally screaming at me. She had on a gas mask. Yellow Playtex gloves that you would wash dishes with. This was at the very beginning of the pandemic. I thought she was going to literally attack me. She was absolutely out of her mind. And this is what they made people into. I want that little weasel bastard to go down so bad. I really hope they confirm Kennedy. And she goes on and says, and if they don't confirm Kennedy, put Rand Paul in his place. But just, we want that little mother effer to go down. Marianne, I'm so with you. You have no idea how many people in the country are with you. Honestly, I just want him. People say, well, Jeff, don't you want to get everybody? Yes, but I want him. Him I want. 617, Chicken Little. 617-266-6868. Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. First and foremost, I want to wish you, your family, and Rocky, and Sandy and Mike the happiest of Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. All the best to you and your family, Mark.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. So, Jeff, here's a question for you. You're a prosecutor. You believe someone is guilty of a crime, even if you have the slightest inkling that someone is guilty of a crime, and you're a prosecutor. Do you ask a judge to drop the case?
Never.
So what does that tell you, Jeff? It tells you that he never had a case. He never believed anything he said. Once again, the propaganda, it was all staged. And just like this case, Jeff, all the rest of them are going to fall, and they're going to fall hard. But there's one question I have to ask you, Jeff. Judge Merchan, says he's delaying Trump's sentence till he's done with his presidency in 2029. Is there or is there not some kind of law stating after you are convicted of a crime, you have a certain amount of time to sentence that person, or that case is dead?
Well, that's what I mean. It's going to collapse. Mark, that's the thing now. It's either going to be overthrown on appeal. Merchan on December 2nd is already now under tremendous pressure to just dismiss the case and toss out the conviction. So, look, Georgia is finished. For all intents and purposes, Fani Willis is finished. That case is finished. And now they're really hanging by a thread in that Alvin Bragg hush money case. And, Mark, I think it's going to collapse as well. I think it's inevitable. And believe it or not, Alvin Bragg may even lose the election for DA. From everything I've been reading, again, this is from the New York Post, but, it's a good New York paper, and I read it every day. And apparently, a lot of people in Manhattan are not happy with Alvin Bragg. And it's not just because it was a witch hunt against Trump. He's going after this poor guy, Daniel Penny. I don't want to get sidetracked, Mark, but this poor guy, Daniel Penny, who literally saved people on the subway from this psychopath. And so he's going after Daniel Penny and trying to convict him while he was trying to protect the public from this clearly violently, mentally deranged homeless person who was terrorizing people on the subway, while he's letting murderers and rapists and gangbangers and drug dealers just walk around scot-free. So this is not just that these cases are going to collapse. I think it's going to destroy many of their careers. Fani Willis's career is up in smoke. Alvin Bragg's career may be just going up in smoke. Jack Smith may end up behind bars. So Letitia James, she's in big trouble for what she did. So in the end, it's not just that Trump's going to win these cases. I think the people that orchestrated them and led them are going to be devoured as well. Final word to you, Mark. We can't? We're up against it? Okay. Mark, have a happy Thanksgiving, my friend. And honestly, thank you for your calls, because I love your calls. 31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, text machine is on fire as well. This is from 508, and I think, honestly, hit the nail right on the head. Jeff, I wonder if the rabid liberals will ever admit they were wrong about Trump, since every accusation against them has been wrong, every attempt to knock him off has failed. Will they ever admit that Trump is clean? And all these Democrats know what they've done. They know they are guilty of violations of the Constitution, or even worse. I agree. And look, that's why yesterday, Jack Smith's capitulation, and that's what it was, that was a full-blown surrender, was huge. I just can't overstate it. What he's telling us is he never believed in these cases. They have no evidence, and their days are now numbered. They realize they can't stop Trump. He's coming back, and now they're all running for the hills. 617-266-6868. Mel in the great state of New York. Thanks for holding, Mel, and welcome.
Yes, good morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call. As far as that guy, Patrick, who called earlier, that was just another liberal low blow call. I mean, Ray Charles could see that. It was that obvious. And then the other lady who said something about, the Democrats, if they were to get down, bend, get to drop, bend to their knees and pray for God, for all their misdeeds. But Jeff, the devil, he roams the earth looking for souls to devour. He doesn't take a break. They're not going to change, the ladies. They are devil party of just death and destruction. There's nothing you can do for them. That's just the way that I see it. I just wanted your opinion on that, but yeah, they're not going to change. It's done.
Well, Mel, look, you raise a very profound, honestly, philosophical, theological, spiritual, and moral point, and it's one I agree with. I believe the battle with the devil, which means the battle with evil, the battle with Satan, is eternal. You're right. The devil, my grandfather always said this. My father always, my father still says it. My grandparents repeated it to me. The devil never sleeps. The devil is restless. The devil will never stop. The devil is ceaseless, which means our struggle against the devil must be ceaseless and relentless as well. And, I think sometimes, I don't want to get too off topic, but I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, and happy Thanksgiving, by the way, Mel. Best to you and your family. We're living at the end of, the end of days. No, this is really it now. Every generation, I can go back hundreds of years, and you can make the case that this is the end of, the end of time, the end of days, because the devil manifests itself in different ways, in different times, through different people, movements, and individuals. But it's ceaseless. It just doesn't end. And that's why, to me, we have to uproot the swamp. That the deep state, the establishment, because they are the root of evil in our country. There's no question now. They have been firmly ensconced, entrenched for many decades. They're like a leviathan, and they've gotten, like a cancer. They just grow and grow. They've gotten fat, wealthy, privileged, powerful, arrogant, full of hubris and pride. They literally thought they were invincible. And so they thought they could smash Trump with this lawfare and smash us, the people, with this lawfare. Remember, it wasn't just aimed at Trump. It was aimed at us, to demoralize us, to try to psychologically disarm and confuse and mislead us. They kept hoping we were going to turn on Trump or give up on Trump or throw in the towel and say, oh, forget it, just, one indictment, 2 indictments, 3 indictments, 4 indictments, that eventually we'd say, okay, look, forget it. Let's go for a Nikki Haley. Let's go for a Ron DeSantis. Let's go for a Chris Christie. By the way, has anybody heard from Manja? Has anybody heard from Chris Christie? I know he's hitting the buffet tables, but he kept saying Trump's going to lose, Trump's going to lose, Trump's going to lose. He guarantees it. Trump's going to lose, Trump's going to lose. And since the election, it's been 2 weeks. He's MIA, except at the buffet table. But outside of the buffet, you can't see him anymore. So I'm just curious, where's Manja? That's what I want to know. But the point is, the goal was to undermine and demoralize and weaken us, to smash us. And we just didn't give up. And I've got to say this. When Winston Churchill was a much older man, he was now retired, elder statesman. He served his second term as prime minister. This was now like in the late 1950s. And he delivered a commencement address in front of the students at Oxford University. The place was packed. Packed. Professors were there, administrators, all the students. I mean, this was the great man, and by then he was quite old, so they thought, how much longer can he live? This was the great man. And what they wanted him to speak on was, what's his most profound advice to young people? In other words, sum up your career. What is the most important, profound lesson you have ever learned? And so everybody was like, literally on their pens and needles. And there was Churchill and the great man himself. And he got up, he had his cane, you could tell he was quite old, shuffled over to the podium. He looked left, he looked right, he looked around, he cleared his throat. You could hear a pin drop. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, I have only one piece of advice to give all of you. And he said it 3 times, deliberately. Never, never, never give up. And people are like, and then he just turned around and slowly shuffled back to his chair. And I mean, the students, the crowd, they went bananas. They went crazy. I mean, they were like, the outpouring of patriotism and love. But his point is, you want to know the key to success in life? Don't ever give up. It takes tremendous will. It takes tremendous determination. It takes tremendous faith. It takes tremendous courage. It takes tremendous willpower. But the point is, don't give up. And if you don't give up, believe it or not, you will achieve. You will win. But the key is, don't give up. We never gave up. Trump never gave up. The American people never gave up. That's why we won on November 5th. That's why Jack Smith threw in the towel yesterday. See, to me, this is what's stunning. It's starting to remind me now of 1989. We're having our own 1989. The Berlin Wall, the deep state wall, the establishment wall, the swamp is starting to collapse. They're starting now to give up. If we don't give up, we can finish this in 4 years. So they've crossed the Rubicon. They're starting now to surrender. 617-266-6868. David in Kentucky. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. How you doing?
Great. How are you, David?
I'm doing good. Hey, what I would pay to see, I would pay to see this. I would love to see Trump give his first press conference as president, standing at the podium, picking up the stack of papers, raising them up in the air, and then all of a sudden break out to a little dance and go, I got the documents.
I thought, David, you were going to say, and I'd love to see this too. I mean, we're fantasizing now, but have him do the little dance. I love that. And then turn around and say, we've just issued an arrest warrant for Fauci. I mean, David, huh? What would you give to see that?
I would get to see that. And when you were talking about the mask and 6 feet earlier, this is why it didn't make sense either, because people don't think. People just hear something and they automatically think it makes sense to them, but it doesn't. It's like you had to stand 6 feet apart at the airport, but you didn't have to sit 6 feet apart on the plane.
No, I know. This happened again and again and again, you know? You're so right. You're absolutely so right. And David, you know what was stunning was all these liberals and moonbats, like with their eyes wide open, like wild-eyed, how they just swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker. It didn't matter what came out of Fauci's mouth. You know, if he told them to jump off a bridge, they'd all run, okay, let's jump off a bridge. Like, whatever this guy said, he was like their God. It was like gospel. I mean, David, am I wrong? We lost it. I'm up against it again. David, thank you very much for that call, and I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. 617-266-6868. Winning. 49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, as I've said earlier, but I want to repeat, tomorrow, Kuhnerman is off, so is Sandy. Mike is off as well. We're going to be having holiday programming on tomorrow's show. Well, I mean, you're right, Mike. Technically, Mike will be... No, Mike, you're... Yeah, I mean, you don't have to work for me, and that for you is a big thing, Mike. I understand that. He's going to be in the studio tomorrow, but technically just watching the board, but he's not going to be working for the Kuhnerman, and for him, that's a real relief. You know, he's doing cartwheels already. He says, I don't have to see you now for 5 days. Thanksgiving's already coming early for Mike. So anyway, so we're going to be off tomorrow, off on Friday, but we will be back on Monday. We took that extra day. Honestly, we're just tired. We need a little bit of a break. So this is sort of our Thanksgiving show. Now, the reason why I'm saying all this is many, many family members and friends are now being told that if you voted for Donald Trump, then avoid Trump supporters at Thanksgiving at all costs. Now, to show you honestly how the left has reacted to Trump's victory, let me just give you a taste. Okay, this is what many liberals have been going through now for about the last 2.5 weeks. So this, for example, is a black female liberal driver on the road, and then she finds out Kamala Harris lost. Roll cut 12, Mike.
I'm sorry. No! Why? Why? Do you really hate me that
bad? I mean, do you really want to spend Thanksgiving with her? Crazy moonbat like that? I mean, part of me is like, yeah, please don't invite me. No, you don't want to come because you're protesting the election by not coming to my Thanksgiving dinner? That's okay. Hey, stay home. Now, there's many more. So, this is a sobbing, tattooed, and I mean tattoos. When I say tattooed, it's everywhere. I mean, there's not an inch left there's no inch of skin left for her to put a tattoo on. It's head, face, neck. I mean, it's everywhere. This is her having a complete and utter meltdown. Roll cut 11A, Mike.
It's like I can feel the pain and the fear from every single person. I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how to get through the next couple days. Who knows how long this is going to take.
4 years, honey. That's how long. You got 4 more years to go, honey. All right. Now, there's a white woman in the kitchen. You say, well, Jeff, why are you mentioning skin color? Because they're going on about, well, I'm white. I think I'll be okay. But what about my friends who are not white? Oh, my God, are going into internment camps. Oh, they're all going to be killed. Roll cut 13, Mike.
The bigotry and hatred that they stand behind, and how I am trying to be a good person. I'm not Catholic like they are, which is ironic because it's religion's supposed to make you love, but I could see it breaking me and my parents apart because they just don't get it, and they don't get that they voted for someone who's gonna make my friends' lives hell. My life's okay. I'm a white woman, but my friends are not gonna be okay.
Did you ever ask Mommy and Daddy? Maybe they voted for Trump because, we got to pay the bills. Sweetie, you should see my energy bill under Biden. Yeah, take a look at the grocery bill. You see, you don't look at these things because we pay for everything, Or you see when Daddy's at the pump, putting in gas, and you're just sitting there on the phone yakking with your friends, and I come in and I'm murmuring under my breath. You know why? That's because it's costing me $100 to fill up the tank. When under Trump, it was $40. No, you see why? That's why I voted for the guy. So, now listen to this. This is a crazy lib saying that she actually paid a witch to put a spell on Elon Musk. Roll cut. I mean, would you want these people at your Thanksgiving? I'm like, no. Oh, you're going to put a spell on me? No, I'm fine. I'm good. Roll cut 18. Mike.
Elon Musk!
I just paid an Etsy witch $7.99 to make your life a living hell. Brace yourself.
Oh, he's afraid. Oh, he's quaking. Okay, one more. This is a crazy moonbat. She's a college student, or looks college age-ish, early 20s. Now, she's going to break up with her boyfriend because her boyfriend's family voted for Trump. And then she finds out, well, I think he voted for Trump. But listen to this. She actually admits that he was a great boyfriend. He was a great guy. He treated me great. But, he voted for the wrong candidate. So, I guess we're finished. Roll cut 19. Mike.
I was really upset because he told me his family voted for Trump, so I asked for a few days of space to think about, do I even want to be in a relationship with someone whose family is like that? Because I've cut my own family off for that. I'm not going to be associated with that. I'm not. And so I needed some time to think about it, because he really was good to me, and I liked him a lot. And then after a couple days of thinking about it, I reached out to him saying, what time do you want to get together to talk about it? And at this point, he said, I'm so confused, I'm so sad, I'm so scared, I don't know, I haven't known what to say, because I voted for Trump too over the weekend with my family. And he just spilled it, just word vomited, because he was just getting so nervous about it, he couldn't keep it in anymore. So that's how I found out. And then, I kid you not, it was a 2-minute breakup. I said word for word after he sent me that, oh boy, yeah, that about does it. And then continued to tell him how disappointed I was in him. And then I unadded him off of everything. And that's how it went.
She's acting, I think this is how scary it is. Like, how disappointed I was in him. I eventually found out he voted for Trump. As if, I found out he was cheating on me. He was sleeping with my best friend. I found out. And did you catch? I've severed relations with my own family because they voted for Trump. So why should I stick around with you if your family voted for Trump? I agree, Mike. That dude dodged a bullet. That's what I'd say to him. I go, look, Junior, I know you're disappointed now, but believe me, God is watching out for you. Okay? Now, the reason why I'm mentioning all this is that millions and millions and millions of moonbats, progressives, libs, Dems are now saying that they will not spend Thanksgiving with family or friends who they know are Trump supporters. And many in the liberal media, the moonbat crazy media, are actually encouraging this, saying, no, it's a great thing. Cut relations, sever ties, don't spend Thanksgiving. No, ignore them. Boycott your family. Listen now. This is Joyless Joy Reid talking to a Yale school psychiatrist. Okay, she's a professor at Yale, psychiatrist, Amanda Calhoun. And you got to hear this. I'm telling you. What do you do with people in your family who voted for Trump? Like, what do you do? They're like Nazis. I mean, do we have to break bread with Nazis? Do we have to eat turkey with Nazis? Do we have to sit at the Thanksgiving table with Nazis? Listen to the unbelievable response. Roll cut 25A. Mike.
How do you interact with people who voted for this, right? If you are an LGBTQ person and someone in your family voted essentially against your rights, or you're a woman knowing that, this man was calling people the B word, J.D. Vance was literally calling Kamala Harris the trash and said, we're going to take out the trash. I know a lot of black women were incredibly triggered by that. And if you then meet somebody and they voted for the people who called you trash, or if you're Puerto Rican, and someone voted that way, do you recommend, just from a psychological standpoint, being around them? We got the holidays coming up.
Now, my answer, I think any sane person's answer would be, hey, family trumps politics. You don't put politics above your flesh and blood. You don't put politics above friendship. This is a time to give thanks for one another, for each other, for family, for the good fortunes in our lives. This is not a time to have a food fight over the election and continue the vilification. No. You're not. This is now what Professor Calhoun is. Remember, this is Yale. This woman's a psychiatrist. She treats people. Listen to this unbelievable response. Roll cut 25B, Mike.
So I love that you asked this question because, there is a push, I think just a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going into a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood, and it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why, to say, I have a problem with the way that you voted because it went against my very livelihood and I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some space for me.
Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. First of all, I got news for you, lady. You voted for Trump. You voted to improve everybody's livelihood. Everybody's livelihood has now been improved. Okay? That to me is, I don't know, $1.89 a gallon of gas. How about grocery prices that are 40-50% less? How about energy bills that are half? I mean, I could go on and on and on. Inflation at less than 2%. I mean, no. Everybody was doing better under Trump, okay? But let that go. Just forget that. You're telling people, fight with your parents. Fight with your siblings, your brothers, your sisters, your uncles, your aunts. No. Tell them politics, ideology is more important than blood. Ideology is more important than family. This woman's a lunatic. By the way, the communists were the exact same. I'm telling you, in my family back in the old country, the commies, they wanted nothing to do with us. Because the revolution was much more important than, a little thing like, we're sisters, we're brothers, you're my uncle, you're my aunt, you're my parents, you're my mother, you're my father, you're my grandparents, my grandfather, my grandmother. She continues. Listen to this. Oh no. It's for the children. I swear to you, the children. Roll cut 25C, Mike.
And I actually talked to, adults as well as advising parents for children. I mean, I think, I don't think that you should force children. I don't think you should force adults to be around people just because they're your family. I think there's a level of need to establish boundaries. And if you feel like you need to establish boundaries with people, whether they're your family or not, I think you should very much be entitled to do so. And I think it may be essential for your mental health.
This is a communist Marxist mind. That's what you're dealing with. That's the mind of a fanatic. That's the mind of a fanatic that puts politics over family, politics over friendship, politics over love, politics over children. So I just want you to think about this, okay? Because I know this is happening. Because I've gotten so many emails where you have grandparents who've emailed me and say, Jeff, my daughter, my son, whatever, diehard Democrat, diehard anti-Trumper. They're so mad that we voted for Trump that they're now using their grandchildren, our grandchildren, as a weapon against us. Saying, no, we're not going to bring little Samantha or little Jimmy to Thanksgiving dinner. No, we're not going to show up for Thanksgiving. We're going to stay on our own because you voted for evil Orange Man. And they're like, I love my daughter. I love my son. One of the reasons why I voted for Trump was for them, for their future. I love my grandchildren. You're going to deny me my grandchildren? Because you didn't like the way I voted? Now, I just want to say this, and I want to open up the phone lines. 617-266-6868 is the number. I'll never forget, okay, this was years ago. It was a homily delivered by a priest. He was a very good priest. And it was just almost a throwaway comment, but I remember it stayed with me, where he looked at the younger people in the pews. And he said, look, you're all very young, and I know you all think you're going to live forever. But I want you to know, when you become parents yourselves, you're going to understand one thing, that you can never pay back your parents for everything that they've done for you. I don't care how many dinners you take them out to. I don't care how many times you visit them. I don't care what you do. Because when you have your own children, when you have babies, and you see what it takes to feed a baby, clothe a baby, change a baby's diapers, where the baby is so dependent, so helpless upon the love and nurturing and the actions of the parent, you realize we can never pay back our parents. And I remember how many nights I helped Grace, I'd say go to sleep, and I would change Ava's diapers or Ashton's diapers or feed them or take care of them over and over and over and over and over again. I'm not complaining, I'm just stating. And then you become 25, 30 years old, and you think you're a know-it-all, latte-sipping liberal. And suddenly now, because you're not a racist, but your parents who raised you and took care of you and gave you everything, well, now suddenly they're racists. You know better than they do. And you're going to turn around and you're going to disown them or not invite them to Thanksgiving after, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them? After everything they did for you, literally, how many times they wiped your rear end, how many times they fed you, how many times they took care of you and showed you nothing but selfless, unconditional love over and over and over, literally thousands of times. And this is how you pay them back? Over a lousy election? In the cosmic, look, to me it was an important election, but in the cosmic scheme of things, you're willing to sever relations with your blood, with your mother and father or your grandparents or your children? Because Donald Trump won? I'm sorry. You're selfish. In fact, you're disgustingly selfish. You're narcissistic. You're rude. You're disrespectful. And you're a jerk. I'm sorry. Somebody's got to say it. Now, look, I'm going to be honest, okay? I've had many family occasions. I don't like the in-laws. There was one in particular, thank the Lord she divorced them, okay? But let that go. It wasn't pleasant. I showed up. They would talk politics, and they would do it to provoke me. I just ignore them. In one ear and out the other. I don't care. I'm not going to stand here and destroy a wonderful meal or a special occasion because some idiot some liberal doesn't know what he's talking about. So, you can be adults and not talk politics. Or if you talk politics, you just ignore them. Like, who cares? But to stand there and ruin Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner or strain or sever or break relations because somehow you're holier than thou. You're not the racist, but your parents are the racist. I'm sorry. You are cold, you are heartless, you are selfish, you're a jerk. You're a jerk. And look, I'm just going to say this, and this needs to be said. 99.9999% of the time, I've noticed this, it's liberals who keep saying, I don't want to go over to this person's home Thanksgiving because they're Trump supporters. Or I don't want to invite them for Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever because they're Trump supporters. The intolerance 99.99% of the time comes from the crazy moonbats and the libs. The so-called fascists, us, the Nazis, the insurrectionists, the white supremacists. I can't tell you how many times I've heard Trump supporters say, yeah, my daughter's a liberal, I'm inviting her, I don't care. Well, whatever, my mother, my father, whatever, yeah, voted for Kamala Harris, inviting them, we're going to be with them. Trump's supporters are infinitely more tolerant than the libs. And I'm just covering myself by saying 99.99% because I'm telling you, I think it's 100-0. It's always liberals. I've never even heard one time a Trump supporter say, well, you voted for Kamala, you're not coming over to my house for dinner. Okay? But let's say there must be one out there. Your call's next. 20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to ask all of you, because this is our final show before Thanksgiving, what do you make of this Yale liberal psychologist, and many in the media, liberal media, are urging liberals, do not attend Thanksgiving dinner with your family if they voted for Trump. That you have the right to your own so-called space, your mental space, your physical space. You should not want to sit down and eat or break bread or spend any time with these crazy neo-Nazis and fascists and blah, 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 blah. And so sever relations or don't go to this Thanksgiving dinner. And have you been the victim of this? Has a liberal member of your family or a friend disinvited you from Thanksgiving or refused to come over to your home for Thanksgiving because you happen to support or voted for Trump? And what do you make of this? To me, this is one of the most uncivilized, frankly disgusting things you can possibly do, is to sever a relationship with a friend, especially a family member, over an election and over politics. But that's me. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868. Okay, this is from 603. And it's very powerful and it's very moving. And frankly, it's very sad. Jeff, my wife's immediate family are all on the left. And they'd always known that my wife and I were on the right. Knowing this, over the years, we always avoided talking about politics. However, in 2016, about 8 months after Trump took office, at lunch one day, my mother-in-law decided to start an argument over politics. And her argument went all over the map, except Trump was never mentioned until the very end. I tried to be respectful during the exchange, but when she couldn't control herself anymore, she said two things. Get out. And I can't believe you guys voted for that man. The truth finally came out. Sadly, although my wife maintains some loose contact with them, I have not spoken to my mother-in-law or the rest of her family ever since she burned that bridge. I am simply not welcome there. And that's sad, but I'm okay with it. I've often said to my wife, I wonder if anyone from the Democrat Party has come by to shovel her driveway or send her a Christmas card now that she's traded her family for a political party to couldn't care less about her. Brilliantly, I think very powerfully and brilliantly stated. You traded your family, your daughter, your son-in-law, who obviously loves you, for a political party that doesn't give a damn about you. Are they going to be there when you need to be taken to the hospital? Or you need your driveway shoveled? Or to spend Christmas together or Thanksgiving or whatever? This is what Trump derangement syndrome has done. And I think, frankly, liberals should be ashamed of themselves. But that's me. 617-266-6868. Nick in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Nick, and welcome.
Real quick on that. Yeah, this is what they may not realize they're communists, but they are. And it's just the word communism, but socialism, etc. People really need to understand what it means. It's their way or the highway. That's what they are. That's what they've been. That's what they are. And you got to understand it. Personally, for me, I try not to talk politics with anybody I don't really know, unless they're bringing it up front to me. With friends, most of my family are pretty much of the same philosophy as myself, thankfully. But hey, that's just me. Everybody has a right to be what they are. But when you put everything aside and you go that way that particular person did, that's not good. It's not good for your grandchildren. It's not good for your children. It's not really good for anything, and it's pretty sad.
Nick, if you don't mind me asking, because you're making a very, very perceptive point. Have you ever had, I know you said your family generally are conservatives and they're on the same wavelength, and you're very blessed in that way, because I've seen politics tear families apart. Has it ever happened to you? You weren't invited to Christmas, you weren't invited to Thanksgiving, Easter, birthday, whatever, because of your political views, because of who you voted for?
Absolutely not. And as a matter of fact, there are many who think it's a straight dichotomy. They don't look at these things like the way you do, the way I do, and the way other conservative people do. It's not a matter of parties. It just happens to be there are only two parties. It's conservatism versus nonsense and psychopathic and sociopathic behavior.
No, I agree. Nick, I completely agree, and thank you very much for that call. You see, Nick is right. It is communism, because communism says that the ideology is more important than religion, faith, even your children. 31 on the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare. 617-266-6868 is the number. John in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, John. All the best to you and your family.
And to you as well. This psychologist or psychiatrist that was interviewed on Joy Reid, she's not a real psychologist. She's never counseled anybody alone. She's still a student.
Really?
Yeah. I was listening to it because Fox had a psychiatrist that they interviewed, and that's what she prefaced her comment with. She said, that girl's never practiced. She's never counseled anybody without an actual psychiatrist supervising.
It's incredible. It's just incredible.
These guys are frauds right down to the bottom. Even their quote unquote experts aren't even licensed.
John, I gotta ask you, buddy. Has that ever happened to you, though? I mean, leave aside her. Yeah, she's a joke. I hear you. I mean, it is MSNBC. That's why Elon's going to buy it, you know? But let that go. John, has this ever happened to you? I mean, I'm not necessarily Thanksgiving, but where a family member has cut you off, disinvited you, doesn't want to come to your home for whatever, Easter, Christmas, a birthday, Thanksgiving, it doesn't matter, because you're a Trump supporter. Have you ever faced that kind of left-wing intolerance?
We have a rule. We just don't discuss it. My wife's aunt and uncle are liberals. They live in New York. But I'll tell you, I am Italian, so I got a huge family. And I think two of my siblings are libs. One's in Northern California lib. The other one's in Michigan. The rest of us are all conservatives. And from time to time, we have to shut each other down and cut each other off. And it's just crazy. It's crazy. But we don't debate at family gatherings because we have decided that our relationships are more important than the politics.
I agree. Bingo. Beautiful. Beautiful. John, happy Thanksgiving. God bless you, my friend. Thank you very much for that call. 6-1, he's completely right. Yeah, and Grace's family, Italian, and I love that about the Italians. People ultimately are more important than politics. And I'm sorry, I'm with the Italians. I really am. And especially family. I mean, everybody, friends, but especially family. Family is family, period. 617-266-6868, but that's just me. Ellie in Worcester. Thanks for holding, Ellie, and welcome.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving. I love you in a non-pagan way.
Thank you, Ellie. Happy Thanksgiving.
I've been listening to you talk. You know, it's like, for the other side, the socialist communist thing, this is more like a religious cult than politics, only without the almighty creator. They really can't reason for themselves anymore, just like in a cult. So it's like, if you don't agree with a cult that you're in, they do what's called the shunning, right? So this is basically the same thing. It's like a religious cult. So if you can't agree with the group, you get shunned. It's called the shunning.
Oh, Ellie, I think it's very insightful. I think it's a very perceptive point. You're dead on. That is the behavior. It's very eerily reminiscent of a cult. And you know how a cult will want to pit family members against family members? Say if they want to, I'm just going to pick an example, indoctrinate the daughter, right? Well, if the mother or the father disagree with the cult, then they tell the daughter, you have to disown your parents. Nothing to do with them. Don't ever go to their home. Don't talk to them. Don't ever invite them over. They're willing to sever these bonds, all in the name of the cult. And that's what many of these Democrats and liberals are now doing. And, and again, Ellie, look, I have to return to this. I don't understand. I really don't. Your father, mother gave you life. You were born. They raised you. They reared you. They sacrificed for you. They did everything for you. Who cares? I mean, sure you care. The country's important. I understand that. But they're your parents, or they're your children, or, however way it falls. Look, I'll just give you an example, Ellie, okay? Just very quick. As you know, my dad is very ill, okay? He's got Parkinson's, but he's up in Canada. So, he's into Canadian politics, obviously. Well, this was maybe 7-8 years ago, before the Parkinson's really hit him hard. And I said, hey, Dad, who are you going to vote for in the Canadian elections? And he goes, oh, he's voting for Justin Trudeau. I'm like, Dad, are you serious? Like Justin Trudeau? Why would you vote for that left-wing commie? I go, he's going to destroy the country. Anyway, my dad was going on. Trudeau was fear-mongering that the Tories, as they're called, the conservatives, that if they won another term, they were going to cut Social Security, they were going to cut Medicare for elderly people. And I said, Dad, they're not going to cut any of that. They're just fear-mongering. But, my dad was getting older, senior citizen. He started to have, the onset of Parkinson's a little bit. So they scared him, and he voted for Justin Trudeau. Now, look, I haven't voted in a Canadian election in like 40 years, okay? But what I'm saying is, in Canadian politics, I am a Tory, a conservative, all the way. All the way. To me, Justin Trudeau is the devil when it comes to Canada. He's my father, for God's sake. I'm not going to sever relations with the guy or, get upset or fight with him or argue with him or, hey, Dad, we're not going to spend Christmas together or Thanksgiving or birthdays or family occasions because you voted for Justin Trudeau, who, by the way, really is destroying Canada. Okay, piece by piece by piece. I mean, there was a recent riot in Montreal. Pro-Hamas rioters tore up Montreal, turned it into a war zone. Justin Trudeau was in Toronto at a Taylor Swift conference, I swear to you, partying and dancing while Montreal burned. Okay? Now, I'm not going to stand there and argue with my father. Oh, look, they scared the guy into voting for Justin Trudeau. He's still my father. He still loved me, raised me, took care of me, loves me, will always be there for me, like I'll always be there for him. He made a mistake, in my view. Okay, he's got bad judgment when it comes to politics. Still my dad. Like, the thought that I would disinvite, disrespect, and in some cases disinherit, like I played some of the cuts. I don't talk to my family. I don't talk to my mother. I don't talk to my father, because of an election? Are you right in the head, lady? So, for me, it's a matter of principle. Your father is your father, your mother is your mother, your aunt and uncles are your uncles, your siblings are your siblings, your grandkids are your grandkids. There are some bonds that, to me, transcend politics. Final word to you, Ellie.
Well, I have a family member that's actually in a cult. I've been shunned for years, but it's like I see the comparison of the menticide, which is the killing of the mind. You can no longer reason for yourself. You can only get your answers from the quote, the group, or permission to think for yourself. You need permission to think for yourself because you lose that total ability to actually think common sense and reasoning for yourself because you don't dare go outside the group think.
Ellie, I think the parallel is brilliant. I think you've exposed it. It is, the Democratic Party is now becoming modern day cult. And this is cult-like behavior. Ellie, thank you again very much for that call. Really good point. Brian in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Brian, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, I've been listening to you and enjoying your show. I wish you were all throughout the whole nation.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
I'm in a little town in New Ipswich here, and I wanted to tell you a little something on our vote. Kamala got 919 votes, and Trump got 2,308.
Wow, good.
And also, we did get the governor Republican. House and Senate came strong Republican. We also, what you might not know, since we don't have a, what do you call it? Can't think of it. We have executive council anyway. We don't have a lieutenant governor. And the lieutenant and the executive council is 4 Republicans, 1 Democrat.
Well, and look, thank you very much for that call, Brian. Look, I want to repeat this again. The Republicans in New Hampshire did great statewide. I don't believe Kamala beat Trump fair and square. I believe they stole it from Trump again. 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Dennis in Leominster. Thanks for holding, Dennis, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Dennis.
Yeah, just going back, I'm still laughing from a couple of hours ago about the Littman clip you played about the storied history of the DOJ.
Yeah, the DOJ storied history. And it's in crisis now. It's in crisis now, really. Dennis.
Yeah. Yeah, and anybody who hasn't been following Darren Beatty or Julie Kelly, because they've been exposing this for a while, they really, unfortunately, they missed the boat.
Well, honestly, Dennis, speaking of boats, they're like rats now deserting a sinking ship. That's what you're here. That's what this is going on. That's what this all means. The rats are deserting the sinking ship. So what it shows to me is they're very scared about Pam Bondi. So Trump is right over the target. They're very scared about Kash Patel, either as director or deputy director at the FBI. And they're really scared of Trump. So, Dennis, I'm like, this is all good news. If our enemy is scurrying, if they're fleeing and surrendering and panicking, that's good for us, Dennis.
You know, and as far as Fauci's concerned, you know, I was calling BS back in March of 2020 because I was doing some of my own research, and I found that he had joined a Vax commission with Bill Gates, a 10-year Vax commission, and I said, you know, I think this must be all about them just trying to get rid of Trump. You know, people were calling me crazy for saying that, but I believe that to this day.
Dennis, I want to ask you this, and it's a bit of an odd question, but I don't know why. It's Thanksgiving, and I don't know, I feel like I'm honestly like this show and Kuhner Country and all of you and everybody, like almost like my extended family. So I'm almost like in the living room now, okay? I don't know what it is about Fauci. You know, like, I want him. I want Trump to get him. I want him to pay. In a way, I'm not saying Merrick Garland shouldn't be held accountable, but more than Garland, more than Jack Smith, more than, you can run down, there's something about Fauci where I say, no, just get him. No, him. I want him. Can you explain that, Dennis? Was it his arrogance? Was it how cold? Was it his hubris? What is it about this guy that so many, I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I know so many in Kuhner Country are like, no, we got to get him. Like, if everybody else, well, but him we got to get. What do you think that is, Dennis?
The snake, there's no doubt about it. He had his own agenda. He always has. And, these people are going to find out. Mike Davis laid it out beautiful yesterday. He was talking about 18 U.S. Code Section 241, conspiracy against rights. And all of these people, all these the judges are the most responsible because they violated everybody's civil rights here. But Fauci, yeah, he's at the top of the list, no doubt about it.
If the regime has a Mengele, and nobody's Mengele was uniquely evil, but I'm using a Mengele-esque. If this regime had a Mengele, it was Fauci. Like, I'm just being honest, Dennis. I want a lot of people to go to jail. Please don't get me wrong. But emotionally, I'm just saying, like, that's the guy I want. Even more than Hunter Biden. Even more, you can name him. Get him. I want him. So fingers crossed.
Right.
Because I'll tell you, I'll be popping champagne corks if they arrest him. Final word to you, Dennis.
Well, as far as the, Jack Smith, I mean, he blew $90 million, in this witch hunt. Where do we go to get that money back?
Bingo. And, that was our taxpayer money. We should be reimbursed. I'm serious. We should be. That's our money. They waged this witch hunt on our dime. That thing was the most incredible thing of all. Dennis, thank you very much for that call. Mike in Saugus. Mike, you probably are the final call before our last show before Thanksgiving. So make it a good one, Mike. Go ahead, my friend.
Jeff, all I can say is thank God Almighty, in less than 2 months, Donald J. Trump and a great administration will be in power. The Dems are going crazy. Family members and friends, they won't bother with me, and that's fine. It's their loss.
Mike, really? You're like, for example, Thanksgiving? Are they not coming over to your place, or have you been disinvited from Thanksgiving dinner?
I've been some friends, they're not talking to us. I'm just going out with my sister that I haven't seen in 7-8 years, and we're going to have a wonderful time. And, that's just the way it is. You can't talk to these people. They're beyond talking to. I wish them happy Thanksgiving and everything else, but I enjoy more being with my Trump friends in Saugus.
Mike, are there any family members you don't speak to or they don't speak to you?
A few of them.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is it from them or is it from you? I'm just curious, Mike. Who's the one initiating, like, not talking? You or them?
It's basically them.
Yeah, see,
they'll say something to try to irritate me, right? And, I'll just kind of, go off on them, and it ends up in a bad situation, So I try to avoid them to a point.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I got a couple of family members, too. I try to avoid them. It's just better that way. But no, Mike, that proves my point again. It's always the intolerance comes from the left, from these liberals. And they're the ones who keep lecturing us on tolerance and compassion and respect for diversity. Mike, have yourself a happy, blessed Thanksgiving. God bless you, all of you. Kuhner Country, we did it, baby. We got a lot to be thankful for. Happy Thanksgiving. Gobble, gobble.